Good evening, everyone. That's what I like to hear.
Awesome. Absolutely awesome.
It's really beneficial.
Our speaker is an internationally acclaimed expert at increasing your communications effectiveness.
Scale from 1 to 10, I guess he's in the 10s.
He holds an MBA in marketing from UCLA.
Oh, very energetic and certainly catches your attention. And the points are simple enough that most people can get it.
His phone power book, now in its 13th printing, is the basis for audio and video training programs popular around the world.
Just a presence about him that's just entertaining and keeps you on the edge of your seat.
Power Talking has also been published in several foreign language editions. His newest release is titled What You Say Is What You Get.
I'm a marketing manager, and one of the things that, exactly what he's talking about, words and what actions, how they interact with each other, that, your clients definitely do play on what you say and what you do, and they look at your body language, and they all know it affects your attitude, and the attitude affects your altitude.
As a trainer and consultant to Microsoft, Ford, 3M, American Express, DuPont, GE, and many telephone companies, he's been successfully helping people communicate more powerfully in a wide range of professions.
I'm in psychology, so this is very beneficial to me.
Since communicating more effectively on and off the phone is important to you, I know you're really going to enjoy this presentation this evening.
On a scale of 1 to 10? 10 and a half.
So please help me welcome Mr. George Walther.
Thank you, Michael. Thank you very much. What a great day we've had today. Wasn't it beautiful? Don't you feel like your spirit is nurtured? You've had a great physical day, wonderful sunshine, and now we get to top it off with nourishing your mind tonight. And coming in, I had the opportunity to meet so many of you from such a range. We've got automobile designers, we've got realtors, financial services salespeople, mortgage brokers, Ford Financial is here. Got a tremendous array. And the best news I can tell you is that regardless of your business, every single principle we touch on today is going to have direct application in your daily professional life and in your personal life. And this is not some academic, theoretical new idea that some professor cooked up. In fact, throughout the evening, I think there are going to be many occasions when you say, I've noticed that, or I know that, or I've done that, or I used to do that, and I'm going to start doing it again. So let's go right ahead and get started. Okay, I could have started that way. Or maybe I could have said the same thing a different way. Good evening. What a beautiful day it was today. What a darn shame we have to all be inside for a seminar tonight. I know you'd really rather be out in the sunshine. I met a variety of people coming in, and we got so many different interests here, from automobile designers to realtors to financial services salespeople. We've even got Ford Financial. Look, to tell you the truth, there's just no way I'm going to be able to personalize this for each individual business here. And I'm afraid I must tell you that what I'm going to be sharing with you, it's really nothing new. I think you know everything I'm going to be talking about anyway. So why don't we just go ahead and get started? Okay, could have said the same thing either way. Who here, had I opened with the second version, might at this point be trying to slide toward the exit door? So did you have a negative impression the second time around? Tell me your name, please. Amanda, what did you notice that gave you a negative feeling the second time around?
Just the attitude.
And although I said nothing about my attitude, isn't it true that you size up a person's attitude based on the way they sound? In fact, from an individual's tone of voice, you infer. I didn't say this is going to be a really boring night, and I don't want to be here either. But you may have picked that up from the way I sounded. Amanda, that's excellent. It's a correct answer, and it's a prize-winning answer. I have a copy of What You Say Is What You Get. You're right. And there's more than one right answer, because you size people up based not just on how they sound. What else shaped your opinion about the second version? See, you offer a prize, the hands go. Yes.
Facial expressions.
So interesting. You were evaluating my facial expressions, no doubt my posture as well. And in fact, don't we do it every time you meet a customer for the first time? And when they meet you for the first time? When you meet somebody new in the neighborhood? For those of us who are single, if you're out meeting somebody socially, you form impressions right away. It comes from the way you sound. It also comes non-verbally. It comes from facial expression, posture. Also, I want to tell you, as I came in here, I did not have in my head, okay, don't forget, slump down and change your facial expression. I didn't have to do that because I made sure that the words I used were negative. And when you use negative words, that shapes the way you think and the way you act. Because, of course, your body posture and the way you think are all tied in to the way you speak as well. So, good. Who said that? Great. I have an audio version of tonight's program for you. Yeah? Anybody notice anything I said that made you feel one way or the other in the two versions? Yes, what'd you notice?
Just that you mentioned that everyone would be able to get something out of it as opposed to the personalization that you may not be able to do.
In fact, you might notice that I said 3 facts. I said the same 3 facts. It's been a lovely day and we're inside tonight. I said there's a wide variety of interests here in the audience. And I said that this is not new information. It's not the facts. I said the same 3 facts. It's the way you state the facts that shape the impression. Yes, that was a prize-winning answer. And this red cord is just going to look great on your phone. I'll explain why later. Hey, what you did with me is exactly what your customers do with you, what your colleagues do with you, what friends do with you, and, of course, what you do with them. You pay attention to those same 3 factors that you did with me. Before anybody opens his or her mouth, you're paying attention to the nonverbal messages. How's this person come across? What's their posture like? What's the facial expression? But it doesn't stop there, because then they open their mouths, and then you listen for how they speak. And you infer what their attitude is based on the way you interpret their tone of voice. And you definitely do also pay attention to the specific words they say. And they may be positive, they may be negative. Again, it's not the fact, it's the words used to convey the fact. You just did it with me. Obviously, it's an artificial situation. Your speaker comes in, you think, okay, it's a beautiful evening. I'm going to be with this person. Is this going to be a valuable experience or not? But it happens every time you meet anybody. We all size each other up. It's human nature. So here's my question. If those are the 3 factors that people use in evaluating you, which would be most important? How many people here believe in the power of positive thinking? Oh, unanimous, unanimous. So you know that whether you're a realtor or selling financial services or aiming to increase collections from people who are behind on their car payments, whatever it is, you know that the path to success is that after this program, you go to your office tomorrow, and you go like, I'm thinking so positive. Of course, it would be absurd to sit in the corner and think positively. That's not what brings about change. It's a crucial component, but thinking positively ain't going to do it. How about this? Who would say actions speak louder than words? Every hand up. And yet, don't you see people who have perfect posture, they have a stride of authority, when they shake hands, the firmness is perfect, the eye contact is ideal, everything's just right, and you're thinking, what a dork. This is a hollow shell. This is just someone going through the motions. There's no true substance inside. I'm not here to say that thinking is the most important thing or that acting is the most important thing. And I'm also not here to say that the words you speak are the most important thing, because the reality is they all influence each other. What you think about influences how you act, influences how you speak influences how you think and how you act. They're all connected. So who does this really matter for? We're here, of course, representing our own interests, yet we have a team at work. We have a team that we are a part of. We certainly have customers. What about them? Where's the most important component there when it comes to communicating? Well, once again, they influence each other. If you have customers who speak negatively to a colleague, and the colleague's in the back room saying, oh, these customers are a pain in the butt, and then that rubs off on you, no doubt it affects your attitude, which rubs off on the next customer. In fact, they're all connected. What's going on in your mind, what's going on in your mouth, what's going on in your body, all are connected. Now, I know what happens when you come to a program like this. Many of you come to many of these programs, and you have either people who you work with or people you've met previously, and you come and you sit down with them. And if there's nobody in the room who you recognize, nobody you feel comfortable with, then you look for someone who seems friendly and approachable, and that's who you're sitting with now. I'd like you to stand up, please. And will you quickly pivot around, find somebody close by who you've never seen before, a complete stranger. I'd like you to form teams of 2 people, please. Teams of 2. Find a stranger. Okay, we're going to do teams of 2, so just find one partner. And what I'd like you to do now, please, decide between the 2 of you who has the most hair. Okay? The one with the most hair. Listen carefully. Those of you with more hair, you get a speaking role in just a moment. Those of you with less hair, here's the job I have for you. When your partner starts talking to you in a minute, pay total attention to what your partner says. Don't interrupt, don't let your mind wander, don't contribute your thoughts, don't agree. Just remain silent, but totally stick with your partner. Listen to everything she or he says. That's for those of you with less hair. Those of you with more hair, when I say go, what I'd like you to do is tell your partner everything you can think of to say about your personal, all-time, absolute favorite dessert item. I want you to tell your partner, please, what's your favorite dessert? Why do you like it so much? What are the key ingredients? What did your grandmother used to put in it? Where was the best one you ever had? What's the texture, the flavor, the smell? Tell them everything about your favorite dessert. Those of you with less hair, silently listen. Okay, ready? Hairy people, go! Stop! Silence! Say nothing else! Silence! Silence, please. Those of you who were on the listening side, what I want you to do now, please, is look at this list of adjectives up on the screen, and I'll ask you to step to the side just a minute here so everybody can see. From that list of adjectives, will you please select the 4 adjectives that describe the personality of the individual you just listened to? Jot them down anywhere. Back of your notes, it doesn't matter, any scrap of paper. Just very quickly go with your first gut impressions, 4 adjectives that describe your partner's personality. Go ahead. Okay, hey, if you're not done yet, you're doing it wrong. This is not psychoanalysis, just your first quick instinct. No 7-year deal here. Okay, now, will you take your seat, please, or kneel down, stay close to your partner, because what I want you to do now is tell your partner exactly why you picked each of those words. I want you to tell them not just what the words were, but what caused you to say those words? Hold it, we better do this by example. Let me do this by example. Let's see, what is your name, please?
Mark.
Mark, you're our first volunteer. Please stand up. And your partner is who?
Sue.
Sue. Did you know Sue before?
No.
Okay, great. Now, may we assume that you were the listener here, Mark? Okay, sorry, I just want to be sure. So you face your partner and you say, Sue, I didn't know you previously, but now that I've had some insights about your personality, here's how I'd size you up. I'd say, okay, we'll use a hypothetical example here. No, you wrote down good things about Sue. You put down friendly. What made you choose friendly? Why, of all those words, did you pick that one?
She had a nice smile. She looked outgoing.
So, as you did with me, you took into account the nonverbal. I see that you also have confident. What made you think she was confident?
Because she knew exactly what she liked.
So partly it's, it's timing. You come right out with it. There are many factors that go into your assessing what someone is like, and this is exactly what I'd like you to do right now, is tell your partner, for each of the 4 words you chose, what made you pick it? Was it word choice? Was it enunciation? Was it their pace of speaking? Was it their volume, the strength of their... What is it that made you think they were like that? Go ahead now, please. Thank you.
Thanks.
Okay, good. Come on back. By the way, this would be a great time to thank your partner, because I've only listed positive adjectives. I learned from prior experience. It got out of hand. Okay, let me find out. For the half of you who had the assignment of analyzing your partner, how many of you were successful at selecting 4 words from the list that described their personality? Okay, I see half the hands. Half of you had the assignment, half of you were able to do it. Now, I rushed you. If instead of rushing you, I had said, let's take a few minutes now and have you write an essay about your partner. Who here could have, those 4 words don't feel limited to this list. Just go ahead and write what you feel about the other person. Who could have written more than 4 words? Who could have written 4 sentences to describe your partner? Who could have written 4 paragraphs to describe... 4 chapters? Hey, how long did you have to get to know this person? How much? Couple minutes? 30 seconds? No. When I said stop, that was 13 seconds. In other words, and look, were we not videotaping with the need for lights? I could have brought this house completely black. You would have done exactly the same thing, as if you were on a phone call. If you don't have any visual stimulation at all, if you don't see what they're wearing or what their posture is, you still size them up. Because in less than a quarter of a minute, 3 things happened. First, you either projected or you perceived a very clear impression of the other individual. You listened to the words they picked, how they enunciated them, the order in which they said them. You analyzed them in very rapid succession. 2, you didn't do this by ESP. You weren't going, let's see, I'm getting vibes that you're friendly. No, it wasn't ESP. You had specific things you paid attention to. It was their word choice, the tone of voice, their pace of speaking. 3, 1, you project it quickly. 2, you do it because of specific identifiable variables. 3, you controlled it. You controlled it. If I had negative words up there, and you didn't like the way you were being analyzed by others, and you said, well, I don't want people thinking of me like that. Why are they doing that? Because you're putting that out. If you hired me to work in your company and you said, George, we really want people to arrive here and feel great about doing business with us, so you're going to be working in the reception area. We want you to put people in a positive mood and let them know we're a really professional organization. And we come to a 60-day review, and you've noticed that customers don't seem to be very positive. You say, George, what's the deal? Your job is to make them feel positive, and it's not happening. What's going on? I don't know. I greet them all when they come in. Well, what do? Well, of course, first I shake hands. And you'd say, you don't shake hands like that. I'd say, well, this is just the way I always have. You say, and you don't have that wimpy, whiny voice, George. Well, what do you mean this is just the way I sound? And you don't slump down that way, do you? Well, what do you mean this is just me? I think you'd probably say, you could do very well at our competitor. You'd say, for goodness sakes, get a grip. You're responsible. What do you mean this is always the way you've stood? Change it. Take control. Ladies and gentlemen, here's what we're here to do this evening. The image that you project to others comes very largely from the way you speak to them. It is totally within your control. Our aim tonight is to make sure that the image you project to others, both professionally and personally, is just the way you want it to be, that you get high levels of cooperation from others, and that you use the language that comes out of your mouth every day to be a positive influence on yourself. Now, I'd like you to open your note-taking guide, and right at the top of the inside cover, our foundation for the program this evening is simply this. Every phrase you use, everything you say, everything you write in an email has an impact on others. Everything you say to a potential customer shapes their impression of you and the company you represent. Everything you say to somebody in a social setting influences how they will view you. Every phrase you use first shapes your image. Just as you did with me when I walked on to begin the program tonight. You're saying, what's the guy look like? How's he move? What's he sound like? We do it with each other constantly. You know, I'll always remember sitting in a job interview at a major cellular telephone company based in Seattle. And for this particular interview, the company was in the boardroom and had the two finalist candidates for their top customer service position. These two individuals, neither came from a cellular phone background, and both, they decided to give the level playing field. Both had the identical questions to answer, and the questions had been sent by courier to arrive at the same time. So one wouldn't have an advantage, because one was a hometown guy, one lived in Phoenix. So they both got these questions, and the day that I was there was the final interview day, and the first candidate came in happened to be the guy from Seattle. He came into the room. He had good posture. He looked good. He was well dressed. He shook hands all around, had good eye contact, everything very positive. And he began by saying, well, first of all, thank you very much. You sent me these questions in advance. Unfortunately, I just got them 2 days ago, so I've looked them over, but I haven't had a chance to really study them thoroughly. I'll do my best for you, though. Also, I want to let you know, I know this is a technical field, and I do not have any technical background. I have been working in financial services in the customer service arena, but I'm a very quick study, and I'm sure I can catch on quickly. And then he proceeded to give very good answers to the questions. The questions were things like, you know, you have a customer service rep who has been chronically late and coming in for the third time in a row late, and you bring this individual into your room. What do you say? He did great. Second candidate came in. Her name was Glenna. She's the one from Phoenix. She came in, looked good, shook hands, good eye contact, excellent level playing field. She began by saying, first of all, thank you very much for sending me these questions. I got them 2 days ago, and that's given me ample opportunity to really focus on what I'd like to get across to you. Also, I want to acknowledge something you're doing that's very unusual in this field, because in the cellular business and in the computer hardware business, it's very high-tech, and typically the same companies hire people from their competitors, and the same ideas end up getting circulated from company to company. Obviously, you want to bring in fresh, new, outside ideas, and I'm so glad to be included because I do not have that technical background. I've been working with Federal Express for the last several years, and I've learned a thing or two about customer service I'll be eager to bring into this industry. And she answered the questions as well as he did. Who got the job? Not because of the facts. The facts were the same. She got it 2 days in advance, and she wasn't from a technical background. From the way she positioned those facts. Your image, whether it's in a job interview or in a selling scenario or in a social meeting, is shaped by the words you choose. And everything you say also determines how much cooperation you're going to get from other people. Let me find, who's somebody up here in front here who's at their first production here, first time you've been at one of these meetings? You are? Yes, sir. Oh, great. Would you stand up, please? What is your name?
John.
John, how many of you know John? Oh, John. John, almost nobody knows you here. What's your name?
My name is John.
Full name?
Van Camp.
John Van Camp. Where do you work?
I'm unemployed.
Unemployed, great. Okay, and what is your direction? Where are you heading? Professionally?
Professionally is to do the best I can with the previous experience that I've got wherever I go.
I'd like you to meet John Van Camp. He's in between jobs right now, looking to take advantage of his professional background. As you can see, he's a good-looking guy, takes care of himself, has a nice informality about him, but John has a mustache. Oh, hold it. Let's try that again. I'd like you to meet John Van Camp. He's between jobs right now. He's going to take advantage of his professional background. As you can see, he's a good-looking guy, takes care of himself, he has a casual way, and he has a mustache. Any difference? One word, 3 letters can make all the difference. If your supervisor brings you in for a performance review and says, well, this is your 1-year anniversary and you've had a very good year, but, think, uh-oh, I'm in trouble. Thank you, John. Excellent mustache, too. Very good. One little word can determine if I want to have cooperation with John, he's going to be against me if I've said but when I might have said and. Because the words you choose guide the levels of cooperation you get from other people. They decide whether they want to buy from you, work well with you, contribute to the team you're on together, based on the way they interpret your attitude about working together. And I want to know who hears what you say. It sure goes out of your mouth into the other person's ear. It might go through a phone wire and get into their ear. But it goes on to your own ear. In fact, your most important listener, your biggest critical component in listening to the way you communicate is yourself. Because every phrase you use programs your own brain. What you hear yourself say in typical interactions with other people shapes what you think about yourself. So, ladies and gentlemen, the importance of the language you and I use every day is absolutely crucial. And it could be as small a thing as replacing but with and. You know, I'll always remember GE. How many people here own a GE product? I think your hand should be up. We all have GE. In fact, if you own a GE product, you'll always find there's an 800 number on it that goes to the GE Answer Center in Louisville, Kentucky. First time GE had me come in to do some work for them, before I gave a presentation, I went out in the call center and I sat with typical individuals to see, you know, what are their calls like? And I sat beside a woman named Miss Cooley. And I listened in on Miss Cooley's calls, and I'll tell you, no matter what you may think of your work, Miss Cooley's work was really not very exciting. You know, all day long, call after call was, how do I change the light bulb in my refrigerator? It opens on the right side, but I want it to open on the left side. My kids have been making water balloons, and now they're jammed into the automatic ice maker. How can I get them out? The whole time I listened to her, there was only one really interesting call. This was from the person who phoned and said, how do I get the fireworks to stop in my microwave? There shouldn't be fireworks. How long have you noticed the fireworks in your microwave? This caller actually said, no, it's been 2 weeks now, ever since my birthday, because my friends gave me this beautiful set of top quality pewter serving plates. And that metal is so cold because they're thick. They're top quality. But I preheat them because I don't want to put my warm food on these cold plates, so I put them in the microwave to preheat them, and sparks start flying. It's like, you idiot! But no, Miss Cooley didn't say anything like that. In fact, Miss Cooley was consistently extremely positive. And I paid very careful attention to her word choice. Here's what I noticed. You want to know where your nearest dealer is? Miss Cooley would never say, well, you'll have to get your zip code and let me then check it and I'll have to cross-index it with your zip code. She would say, I'll be happy to cross-index that with your zip code. You'd say, what's the part number for that soap dispenser cup on the dishwasher? Miss Cooley would never say, well, just a minute, I'll have to check the parts manual. She would say, just a moment, I'll be glad to check the parts manual. Miss Cooley would never say, you know, that's a technical question. What I'm going to have to do is get our engineers working on this, and then I'll have to call you back. She would say, that's a technical question. What I'd like to do is get our engineers working on that, and I'll be glad to call you back. Here's my question for you. If you called Miss Cooley, would it make a difference in your experience of that individual and of GE if she said, you'll have to get that, you'll have to look that up, I'll have to get engineering, I'll have to call you back, versus, I'll be happy to look that up, I'll be glad to talk to engineering, I'd be happy to call you back? Would that make a difference? Yes. In fact, Miss Cooley's personal decision to rid herself of that common phrase, I'll have to, made all the difference. And what about to Miss Cooley? Now, I timed her, I watched, and she handled, in the average hour, 12 calls. In each of those calls, she handled, on average, 3 requests for information. 3 questions to which she could have answered, I'll have to or I'll be glad to. And she worked an 8-hour shift, 8 times 12 times, 288 times a day. What does it do to Miss Cooley if 288 times she hears herself say, I'll have to get the part number, I'm going to have to check your zip code, I'll have to get the engineers working on this, I'll have to call you back. I don't want to call you back, I don't like customers. What a drag, I hate my job, my life is miserable. Or she could give herself a little boost each time and say, I'll be glad to check on that, I'd like to get our engineers working on it, I'll be happy to call you back. She could use her language not just to shape others' perception of her, but her own feelings about herself and her work. Here's the way we're going to do things this evening. In that auditorium next door is a bunch of losers. We're an auditorium full of winners. Now, if you had a bunch of microphones descend from the ceiling in this auditorium and in that auditorium, and you compared the way people here speak and the way people there speak, you'd notice some striking differences. In fact, I've made it my professional mission to identify and catalog the differences between the word choices of winners and losers. And they are marked. They're very dramatically different. And they fall into 9 categories, 9 trait areas. Tonight, I'm going to explain each of those 9 traits to you with some illustrative examples. And the first is that power talkers, we're going to say people who use language positively, people who are winners. And I'm not talking about rich people, unless you consider having successful careers, good friends, enjoyment of life, healthy families, and probably financial well-being. That whole thing is what creates wealth in our lives. Wealthy people and poor people, winners and losers, talk differently. The first trait of winners, the first language trait, is that they project positive expectations. They let you know that working with them is going to be a positive experience. They don't say what typical people would say, those in the other auditorium. They'd say, Jim, I'm going to have to ask someone in customer service. They'll have to check with the plant. They'll have to call you back. They would instead make a conscious effort never to say, I'll have to, knowing that it's going to create a negative impression and make them feel bad and get lower levels of cooperation. They'd instead say what they'd be glad to do, what they'll be happy to do, what they'd like to do. They make a decision to purge from their daily vocabularies that phrase, I'll have to. And there's so many other ways that project positive expectations. Let's suppose that after the program, you decide you go out for a late snack. You arrive at a restaurant, the greeter is there at the podium, the individual says, I'm afraid I can't seat you until 10. Or that individual could say, I'll be happy to seat you at 10. The fact is the same. You're going to get seated at 10. You can either look forward to it as a positive experience or have it be a negative experience. What are you doing here tonight? Spending the night in this room? No. I don't think so. Spending is a depletion word. Spending says, I've got a certain amount of goodies and I'm going to let them drift away. People who are positive in their approaches to life replace spend with invest and enjoy. Absolutely, I want to enjoy our evening together here today, and I want it to be an investment. I want the time that you invest in here, the energy you put into this program, to give you a tremendous reward, a payback, because you'll be able to use it not just tomorrow at work, you'll be able to use it tonight with your family, you'll be able to use it in your friendships as well as your professional relationships. Power talkers are people who project positive expectations. They say what they can do, not what they can't. They talk about how they want to enjoy and invest their time, not spend their time. They talk about what they'll be glad to do, not what they'll have to do. Now, as I said at the outset, this is not just about your professional life. It doesn't just apply to what you say at work. In fact, how many people here are parents? Anybody have middle school age kids or elementary school? Okay. I'm a very proud dad of a 13-year-old girl who I'm raising on my own. And I remember when Kelsey was 6, taking her to a museum in Seattle, and as we pulled up outside the museum to park, she looks down. There's an ivy planting strip beside the curb there, and she looks down and she goes, "Dad, look!" And she was all elated. Can't see? Oh, yeah, I'm sorry. Here. It was kind of like this. Dad, I got lucky. And my first reaction instantly, I do hear the phone ringing, and I want to take issue with something Michael said earlier. He said they're absolutely prohibited in this room. That is not the case. However, when your phone rings, would you hold it up before answering so I can get over with the microphone? Because we would all like to jointly critique the conversation. We'll offer some helpful suggestions. You know, when you say, I'll have to call you back, we're all going to say, no, Josie, I'll be glad to call you back. So it's fine to leave your phones on, but please just let me get to you with the microphone before you have the conversation. You know, Kelsey, when she found that dollar bill, my first reaction was to reinforce it, as those of us who are parents do. You know, what a lucky kid you are. And then I thought, hold it, wait. What is the behavior I want to train in my daughter? My most important job in my life is raising this girl. I don't want her to get the idea that maybe if I'm lucky, I'll get a good grade on something. Maybe I'll get a job someday. Maybe I'll enjoy my life if I'm lucky. No. I want her to know that she's responsible for creating good outcomes in her life. So fortunately, I caught myself and said, Kelsey, what an observant little girl you are. A lot of people walked right past that dollar bill. They didn't spot it because they weren't paying attention. You did, though, so you got the reward. And you do very well in your spelling tests, too. It's the same thing. You pay attention. You look carefully at the letter combinations. That's why you do so well. When you get into Harvard, I know that... Power talkers are people who do not attribute successful outcomes in their life to luck. Power talkers give credit where due. Powerless people, those over there, when something goes right, say, well, for once I got lucky. Successful people, when things go well, they say, hold it now, what did I do well that created this positive outcome? Was it my planning? Was it my analysis of the situation? Was it my years of experience? Was it my professional background? What is it that allowed me to capitalize on this experience? And caution, I'm not talking about egotistical, I'm fabulous, that's why I sold the car. No. It's appropriately identifying the role that you took in creating the positive outcomes. And note that people who are successful winners in life are quick to share the credit. They don't just talk about what they did right. They talk about how others contributed and created positive outcomes. How many people here are not in the sales profession? Okay, so I see about 26% of us are dead wrong. Everybody here is in the sales profession. Whether you're in a job interview or meeting somebody for the first time or selling a product or service, we're all selling. Now, you know the 3/4 of you who recognize that you're in sales. You know, you go to program after program, and don't you always hear about the value of generating referrals from your current customer base as the very best way to bring in new business? And we all hear it, and not many of us do it. Some do. Some have great success at generating referrals from their existing customers. And I want to show you what they do to create that success. You can duplicate it. When I lived in California, my vehicles were insured by a company then called 20th Century, now 21st Century Insurance. And 20th Century Insurance was one of those specialized insurance companies that would only take you as a policyholder if you never file a claim, you have a low-risk vehicle, perfect driving record. I mean, if you got a Porsche and a couple of speeding tickets, forget it. They're not going to insure you. They, in short, only insure people who they have a very high level of confidence will not file claims. And as a result, their rates are about 1/3 lower than everybody else in California. Now, I noticed that every year, I'd get a call from 20th Century, and it would go something like this. Mr. Walther, congratulations.